Welcome back, Booty Kickers. Today, we are going to have a really fun conversation. I am so excited to be joined by my friend, Jenny Taylor, who is an incredible dance mom. And, I was saying to her before we hopped on today, I just want this to be a conversation from a dance mom to the dance moms out there because, being a dance mom is a lot. And I'm sure there's things that Jenny's learned along her journey that she wished she would have known and all kinds of stuff. So just, sit back, relax, and listen in. And I hope that this conversation encourages you today. So, Jenny, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
So, let me ask you before we start, do you have a background in dance or is it just your daughter?
Just my daughter. So I played sports growing up, all kinds of sports actually, was raised with all boys. So dance wasn't really a thing in our household. I did do cheer, and I cheered competitively in college, but nothing like what I'm experiencing in the dance world.
Sure. So, this is all new for you.
Yes, totally new industry, totally new experience, the whole thing. So
Wow. Well, let you just go for it. Just dive in and share your story.
Well, my daughter now, she's almost 15. She's been dancing since she was teeny tiny. And we prayed when I got pregnant that whether it was a boy or girl, they would find their passion early so that we could just fuel that fire.
Oh,
And the minute she was exposed to dance, it has been the one track for her. She's very artistic. Loves music, the arts, that sort of thing, and dance has just been her thing. And so we've just poured into that and have learned along the way. We're fortunate that we live in a small town, but we're fortunate enough to have a studio that is recognized with world titles and summit titles and just an incredible studio. So we feel like we're really blessed to have that as well. And so she's on the top of the top. She's an elite athlete. And so we've learned just what that means as parents to support her and help her as much as we can. So it's been quite the ride so far.
I bet. What are some of the things, because you're coming from the world of sports into dance, right? What are some of the things that surprised you about becoming a dance mom and what your daughters experienced and all of that?
It's definitely, for sports, we would just show up, we had a uniform, we would just show up and we'd play. I mean, we had practices and things like that, but there was no like certain hairstyle, certain makeup, certain, this whole get ready piece to the dance world. So that was new. And the stress associated with that was a whole new experience because my husband is an athlete as well. And so, we were used to whatever your show up time was for the game to warm up. You just, were in your uniform and you went. And so with dance, there's a whole process to it. And I mean, they've got to fuel, they have to get their head right, they've got to get their makeup right, their hair right. They have a call time, and that usually means that they have to be in full costume and fully ready to go. I mean, eyelashes just in themselves was a whole new thing for us. It was like,
Oh,
I
totally.
don't think I ever wore those. So I was like, how in the world? Just learning to put those on her. And so I think that was new. We came from mostly team sports, which dance is a team, but it's also very individual because there's a lot of solos and things like that. And so while she is part of a team, there is a very different type of competition between the dancers than me playing on basketball or softball, where we really were a united team. So that's been new. And I think just learning about, how she's wired and what's going to set her up for success. Because obviously she's different than me and my husband. And so figuring that out and learning how to make sure that we have things in place that when we drop her off, she's in the best possible headspace she can be so that she can perform her best. And that took a little bit, just to learn how she was wired and that sort of thing too. So it's been interesting. It's a great world. It's a very different world. And I think we're surprised too how competitive some of the moms or the parents are. You know, that's been kind of interesting. Um, so it's good. But it's definitely a different world.
So I want to take us back just for a minute because I love how you were talking about praying when you were pregnant that your daughter would discover her passion or husband could really nurture that in her. And so many times when it comes to this world that you're talking about, particularly the competitive dance world that I know your daughter is extremely involved in and just flourishes there. So many times we hear about crazy dance moms who push their children into it to fulfill the dreams they never had. And obviously that's not the case. And even listening to your story, I'm struck by really what a selfless thing this is for you and how different, you grew up in sports and your husband grew up in sports and now really pouring so much of your time and energy. I mean, you really champion your daughter in this passion in a way that I just find absolutely beautiful. And so, would you just speak as a dance mom to the dance moms listening about discovering the passion in your child and also nurturing and pouring into that and really just cultivating that passion? What would you say to that?
Well, because we didn't grow up in the world of dance, you know, we didn't know if she was talented or not. You know, my husband comes out of the baseball world and he's a scout, so he knows how to um, see if a body is moving athletically and that sort of thing. So we could tell that she had rhythm and she was keeping the count, like basic things, but we weren't sure, like, you know, we didn't know. And her coach had told us like she's really standing out and she has a different ability than what we're seeing in some of the other girls. And her first year at the studio, she earned um mostly the seniors earned this award, and she was, I think, like 5, and she got
Wow.
this trophy. And so we were like,
Wow.
oh, okay, maybe she really like has something here. You know, we didn't know. And then the next year she um, was moved up to more of a competitive team. And one of the girls that she was dancing with got the solo, and she really wanted the solo. And
Mm.
so we just said, you know, there are going to be so many times in life where you don't get what you want, and you have a choice that you can, you know, have it become something that makes you bitter and angry and frustrated, or you start to figure out what are they looking for, and it helps you to become better in whatever it is that you're pursuing. And so I mean, she had to be 5, and we would watch her practice the solo every day at home. We weren't telling her to do it, but she was practicing the solo as if she had the solo. And as
Mm.
the year progressed, they actually put her in that role.
Wow.
And so then we were like, okay, this is going to be interesting, because we didn't know how she would respond being out on stage, because she had to walk out on stage first and do this whole thing with the team behind her. And we're like, this is going to be one of those make or break moments, you know. But me and my husband are sitting out there going, okay, well, we'll see, you know, how this goes. I mean, I think we were way more nervous than she was. And she just walked out, nailed it, and we were like, okay, this is her thing. Like she lights up being on stage, she loves it, this is her world. And so from that point on, then we started to figure out, how do we figure out what this world is all about, because we didn't understand scoring. We knew nothing about it, we knew nothing. And so we got really close with the studio owner. We were constantly asking questions, constantly, you know, and we were very open with her. We're like, if you really think she has talent, we're willing to help her however we can, but we don't know. Like, this is not a world we came from. And so that relationship has been key, I think, for us, because she has just really taken Charlotte under her wing. And we've always had a very open door policy with her. Like, we want you to be honest with us. We want to be able to come to you honestly, because there's things that we don't understand about this. And she's just been a huge, huge mentor, not only for me and my husband, but for Charlotte. So I think that was key.
Yeah, that's
Then
huge.
just learning as a parent, you know, we truly knew nothing about this. And she's strictly in hip hop. And so that's even a more unique area for dance. She tried a couple other things, didn't like it, so she's just really focused on her lane. And we just approach every year with, you guys know what you're looking for, you guys know what you need. If Charlotte fits that, you tell us what team she needs to be on and we'll make it happen. We never say we're only going to do one team, or we just always say, you put her where you need her and we'll figure out, how to make the schedules work and all the other things that go along with that. So I think it's that. I think it's one, recognizing. Then we've always told her that, if this is something that becomes something that she doesn't want to do, that's okay. This isn't her definition of who she is. And so far, she's wanted it. And then we've stayed close to the studio owner and her coaches and just tried to pour into her as much as we can.
I love that. I want to touch on something that you just brought up there, even with that whole story. What has it been like for you, or what wisdom would you share about being a dance mom, helping your daughter learn how to navigate the world of dance competition? Because, as you said, she's part of a team, but she's
Mhm.
also competing for roles within that team. And that's very different than just a sports team where everybody's here and we are all playing together and we all have the same goal. How have you helped Charlotte learn to navigate that in a way that is emotionally healthy?
I think one of the biggest things for us is continually making sure she knows who she is and whose she is, right? Her full identity. While this is definitely a piece of her gifting, it is not going to make or break how God uses her in her world. He could continue to open doors this way. And if so, we'll do everything we can to help her walk through those doors. But if something were to happen and dance was no longer part of her life, we 100% know He's going to use her in a number of ways. So I think us having that approach helps her to be healthy as well, because she realizes that while she loves this, it's a passion of hers. If she chooses tomorrow that this is something she doesn't want to do, it is okay. There is going to be other areas that God uses her in. So I think that's one thing. Then I think helping her constantly take a step back and realize that she is ultimately in control of where this goes. If she wants a solo, if she wants more teams, work is what's going to get her there. She is the type of person that we've never had to say, you need to practice or you need to do this. She's just wired that way. So she's one of the first, right when the performance is done, she wants the tape. She watches the tape. She self critiques, not in a critical way, but in a way of, I was off here, I was off there, I need to do this, I need to do that. Oh, my spacing here. Like, she is constantly aware of what she can do differently to improve. That's just something that she's wired to do. So we've tried to help her not become obsessed or compulsive with that, to use it in a healthy way versus a critical way. Because that can become, you could move into that perfectionism area very quickly, and that's not going to help her in any way. So that also setting her up to mentally be prepared, where she's visualizing what she wants to do, what is her performance going to, that whole idea of seeing herself perform well and thinking through what's going to happen when she goes on stage and that sort of thing. We're big on keeping her world calm beforehand, so we don't have a lot of chaos, my husband and I. There's a lot of families that use the dance world as like their vacation, and
Mm,
mom's gone wild and they're partying and they're doing all this stuff. And that is, we're not judging in any way, shape, or form, but we're there to support her, not to go out and do something that we didn't do previously. You know what I mean? So we try to keep the environment calm, supportive for her so that she's ready to perform in the best way possible. We try to fuel her with the right food, right nutrition, make sure she gets enough sleep. Um, we're big on all of that, where a lot of times there'll be girls running around the hotel till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. Charlotte is in bed early. She knows the importance of sleep. She knows that if she wants her body to perform, she's got to do the things to it that's going to set her up, where sleep, nutrition, hydration, all of those types of things. So I think it's just been a lot of that, of figuring out what do the top dancers need and do, and then what can me and my husband do to set her up for success, without being cuckoo crazy,
Mhm.
because it is a very interesting world. And there are a lot of parents that are living through their kid. Maybe they didn't, um, I don't know if it's that they didn't get what they wanted when they were growing up or something like that, but we see a lot of competition among the parents, and we just refuse to be part of that. We're very aware of what our role is, and that is to parent her, call out her gifting, set her up to, walk this out in a way that she is honoring God and she's staying close to God. And, sometimes we have to fight for that. I think we may be a little bit odd when it comes to some of the families at the studio, because we are definitely not, um, out partying and doing a lot of socializing and that sort of thing. We're there to help her perform. So I don't know. That's sounds like almost like a bummer or negative, and it's not. I mean, we
No,
really
it
set
doesn't.
her up, but
Yeah,
we really try to focus on her versus us, if that makes sense.
totally does. And I love that. And all the things you talked about are setting her up for success, not only for a weekend, but for a lifetime.
Yes.
She's learning the value of having a calm environment. She's learning
Yes.
the value of sleep and hydration and nutrition. She's learning the value of making sure that whether it's dance or anything else in life, that she's doing what she needs to do to put herself in the right headspace, that she's
Yes.
taken care of, all of that. And then I think also, I'm sure, whether she realizes or not, watching you guys be true to who you are, I'm
Yes.
sure sends a very loud message to her in a world where it would be easy for her to feel
Yeah.
the need to become somebody that she's not.
We hear constantly that she's fiercely independent, and I know that that has a big part of that is that she sees that we're not just going or saying yes to things that we know wouldn't be something that we would support long term. um and I think you asked too, just the how do you help her with the competitive side of it. And
Mhm.
we've tried to teach her that, everybody has opinions. We have opinions, but we don't know what we're talking about in the dance world. So, we can watch a dance and we can say, I don't know, that looked good, or we would do this, but we're not judges. We didn't grow up in the space. And so our opinion, you have to weight those opinions. And so we've tried to teach her that if you wouldn't take advice from the person, then you shouldn't take criticism from the person either. And I think
Mhm.
that has really helped her, because there's so many, when girls are elevated, there's a lot of chatter and a lot of, she doesn't deserve it, that, so and so should have got it and we're like, well, of course, people are going to feel that way if they wish that they got the role. And if their parents aren't teaching them, then you work for it. You figure out what that person did to get there. Then they're going to just murmur and complain and kind of get sucked into that. And so we try to teach her that it's like, okay, if it's something that you want and you're disappointed, then what are you going to do to work towards it versus just complain about it? Because you can complain and stay exactly where you are. And at some point, she may decide it's not worth it. And that's totally fine too. But we don't want her just getting stuck in that complaining, or not appreciating that if someone did get a role, that they worked for it. They did something to get it. And we've also taught her that we trust her coaches and we trust the people that do the choreography. They know what they're talking about. So if they pick a person, there's a reason why they did it. And we've got to trust that. So I think that's been good for her. Because it is easy for, she's 14, almost 15. Girls can get sucked into just that negativity and, um, you know, girls wishing they would have got something. And
Totally.
if they're not
Super
being
abusive.
taught, you know, and I think we work really hard to try to help her look at through the lens of win-win versus win-lose, that when someone is doing really well, that means they're opening a path for her to go through that door if that's something that she wants. Or if she's the one opening up at the path, it may be hard because the first one through, it's kind of difficult, but she's opening it for all the people that are going to come in the future. So trying to help her kind of be in that mindset instead of just getting sucked into the negativity, which I think those types of things are lifelong lessons, whether she's dancing or not. And so we really try to look at that too, like what is going to help her in life, not just in dance.
I love that because even as you said, she's fiercely independent and also at the same time, she's thinking beyond herself. I
Yes.
mean, this idea of if I am dedicated to this and I put my best effort in and it results in a win, now I've just opened the door for somebody else. I
Yes.
absolutely love that. I think that's an incredible mindset to instill in her at 14, almost 15 years old, that she's going to carry with her into every opportunity she walks through in life.
Yeah. And it's a hard one, because I think so she was able to dance for the NBA this past year. She was our we live in Wisconsin, and so the Bucks is our basketball team, and they have something called the Young Bucks. So I think it's like maybe 6 to 14 or 7 to 14. And she was one of the first people from her studio to do it. And so she got a lot of flack from people in her studio of they didn't want to hear about it. They didn't like it that she was doing it. But now there's more people trying out for it. And I was like, that's because you opened that door.
Yeah.
You were the one that were like, I can handle this. I can still keep my commitment to the team and do this. And that was another thing that we talked about. It's like you can't, if you do this, it's fine, but you can't let your team down. If you agree to be on the team, then you also have to fulfill that commitment. And so we worked with our coaches on that too, and um, but that was a tough one because she got a lot of flack throughout the whole year of girls not really liking that she was doing that, but that was more of a when you think about like an NBA dancer, it had a lot of glamour to it. It seemed really cool and she got a lot of attention for it. And so that didn't necessarily go over really well with her team. They're a competitive team, so they don't get, I mean, they get accolades for how they score and that sort of thing, but it's not, it's kind of neat to be. I mean, one, it was a paid position. So she was an actual employee. So she was getting paid for it.
That's amazing.
It was pretty cool. It was a really cool experience. But again, she wouldn't have had that experience had she not worked at her craft and put herself in a position to actually go and audition and do all those things that, is scary. I mean, you had to put yourself out there. It's not an easy thing to do.
It's not, and especially if you have in the back of your mind, "Oh my goodness, if I get this, the other girls on my team might not like me." That's a
Yes.
big deal at that age too.
Yeah. There's a she's dealt with a lot of that. She got called up to seniors, one of the youngest to be called up, so there was a lot of flack for that. So she's
Mhm.
learned early that people may not have her best interests at heart.
Mm,
And we've tried to explain to her that if any of those girls would have had the opportunity, they would have said yes to. So you have to understand, like, you can say no to it, but would you be happy with that? Or if you're not dancing to your ability and everything that you were made to be, you're either going to disappoint yourself because you know that you had more in you, or you can disappoint some other girls that that's really their issue It's something in them that they need to work through. Because I think, and this really, we learned this through the entrepreneurial space, that people that are bettering themselves, that are working towards something, are the first to cheer other people on. People that are frustrated or maybe not happy with where they are or wishing they had something different can fall into the trap of pulling other people back, not really being happy or encouraging something that they get that they wish they had. And so that's been a huge lesson that we've tried to teach her, is that you've got to, like, you have this path that is unique to you and God. And you're either going to blow that out of the water and do everything you can to maximize the gifting that God gave you and feel proud of yourself and excited about the partnership that you have with God, or you're going to let the critics or who knows pull you back. And they don't have her best interests at heart at all. Like, it's more something that they're wrestling with on the inside. And on the flip side of that, then we've been able to see if she gets that like spark of jealousy or something in her, it's like, okay, why? Like, is that something that you want? And if it is something that you want, what can you do to work towards it? And how can you support this person that got it versus tearing them down? So it's been like good to teach her both sides of that. But not easy, that, I mean, she's been dealing with this for quite a while, and she's young, but I'm like, man, by the time she's in her 30s, she's going to be a powerhouse, because she's dealt with
Yes.
this stuff. Like, most
Yes.
people are dealing with this, when they're older.
That's
So,
incredible. Yeah, I was just listening to you thinking that most people, when they think about kids in the dance world, think it's teaching them teamwork, it's teaching them, discipline and work
yes,
ethic and all that kind of stuff, which it is, right?
yes,
Pursuing your
absolutely.
passion. But this is really teaching Charlotte how to navigate life.
Yeah, for
And how
sure.
to navigate life from the position of somebody who is going to be achieving at her highest potential her entire
Yep.
life in whatever
Yep.
it is, and learning to navigate that with grace, no matter who's around her, no matter what happens.
Yep. Yeah. And one of the things that I think I would encourage parents to do is to be proactive in their kids' career, whatever you want to call it. I feel like if I'm not advocating for her, who is, right?
Mhm,
And so we have had, in addition to encouraging her to have her relationship with her coach, we also build those relationships. So, at the end of the year, I summarize, these are the top 5 lessons that we've been working with Charlotte on, from a leadership standpoint, from a life standpoint, and it's those types of things: win-win versus win-lose, how to support, how to navigate negativity, how to welcome someone to the studio that's new versus being jealous of them.
mhm,
We talk about that with her coach so that they know what we're working on at home, so that they can reinforce also at the studio. And then we also have an open door so that if there's something that they're working on or something that they've seen, that we can then tackle it together versus, being defensive or my kid would never do that. Um, we don't approach our relationship with Charlotte like that at all. Because we feel like if we're not willing to hear the feedback, how can we really advocate and support her and get her the help she needs so that she can be all that she was created to be? So I think that's important. I think a lot of people are relaxed in their relationship with their coach or the studio owner, um, maybe going more to the parents for advice. We don't go to the parents for advice because we're like, they don't know what they're talking about.
sure,
They
sure.
really don't. Like, I mean, some of
Yeah,
them are friends of ours and we love them dearly, but we're like, they don't know the dance world any more than we know the dance world.
sure.
And I think some of this comes from, my husband was a coach too, so he knows that there are a lot of parents that are active, but from more of a standpoint of they think they know a lot when they don't really know a lot. And we
Mhm.
came into it like we don't know a lot. We don't know a lot about this world. We both were athletes, so we know athlete mindset, athlete nutrition. Like we know that stuff, but we
Right.
don't know the dance world. We couldn't tell you what they're going to get scored. We can watch a dance and be like, we laugh because we're 9 times out of 10, if we're like, they did amazing, they get a bad score. And then the times that we go, they didn't look so good. They like score really good, So we're like, you know what? We're not even going to pretend to know what we're talking about because we just don't. We don't know what they're looking for. We've learned some things along the way, but we trust their coaches and the studio to do what they're hired to do. So I think that's been important too, because you can be very passive,
Mhm.
and we've decided we're going to be very active in
Yeah.
how we mentor her while she's dancing. We don't know how long this career will last, but while it's in play, we want to do as much as we can for her.
I love that, and it shows. I mean, it absolutely shows in everything that you've said. I love that. If there is a dance mom listening right now who maybe is feeling a little overwhelmed, what would you say to her?
I mean, the dance world to me is very overwhelming. And I think based on personalities, I'm more of an introvert. I like my peace and quiet. And so just those dance competitions in themselves are intense for me as a mom. Because there's a lot of people, it's super loud, there's lots of noise, there's kids everywhere. And I think parents need to also set themselves up for success. Like I had to figure out a way that I could succeed at dance competitions just as much as I needed to help my daughter succeed at dance competitions because they're very intense for me. And so I think, for parents, it's okay to figure out what works and what doesn't work. It's okay to do it different from other families. We don't go and socialize a bunch and do a lot of that stuff because we found that it makes the next day harder when we're tired and when we didn't get a good night's rest, when we didn't get a good dinner. We wake up and it's harder. That whole get ready, get her a drop off is harder on me, harder on her, harder on my husband. And so we just had to figure out things along the way of like, okay, what is going to make this as smooth as possible? And let's just go for that. And it was a lot of trial and error. We've learned what food we need to take. We've learned, what time we need to get in bed. What does the room need to feel like so that she gets a good night's sleep? And what does the bathroom environment need to be so that she can get her makeup on and her costume on and all of those types of things that would impact, because we're all in a room together too. That's a whole nother thing. We're usually traveling and it's like three of us in a room that we know that we deal with ourselves getting ready once we drop her off. Like when we are all trying to, stick on our schedule and get up and shower and do all that, like it was impossible because she's trying to get ready. And so it's like, okay, we get her out the door, we get her at drop off, then we come back and do what we need to do so that we're at her dance in time. And it's little things like that. So I think it's, you have permission to figure out what works for your family, what works for you based on personality. And don't feel pressure. If you're not a huge extrovert, these things are going to be hard, and it is okay not to like want to go out and socialize with everybody from the dance studio. And I've had to explain to the moms, like, I just can't do it. Like it zaps me. I love the other moms, but I'm not going to be the one that's going out to dinner and hanging out and going on all these like little side adventures. Like I physically cannot do it. Um, and they just know that about me. But I had to be open enough with myself and then open with them so they knew I wasn't trying to not be social or not interact with them. Just kind of protecting your peace and
Mhm.
figuring out how to do that. It's not easy at dance competitions. They're intense.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure. And I love, again, how even in that, you're modeling for Charlotte This is
Yeah.
what it looks like to protect your peace, and it's okay if that looks different than it does for anybody else.
Yeah, she's in a place now where, it used to bother her a little bit, that people would be out late and now she's like, "I'm going back to the room. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna get this makeup off. I'm gonna start to chill out. I'm gonna get a good dinner, and I'm gonna get to bed." Like, she just knows her body really well, and I love that about her because she's learned that, and she's learned it by pushing herself maybe in areas that she shouldn't and realizing that, she was more tired the next day or she didn't have the best day. But she's definitely learned that. And we went to it's not a competition, but there's like a convention. And we usually go to the one in Chicago that is not too far from us. And so there's people from her studio that go as well. And then she won a scholarship. So we were able to go to one in Dallas, and we were the only ones there. And it was so funny because after the first day, she goes, "Man, mom, I love it so much better being here by myself." She goes, "Because I don't have any pressure to hang out. I don't have any pressure to go get coffee or show up or do this." She goes, all I have to think about is getting to where I want to go, doing the classes I want to do, and then coming back and eating and going to bed." And I was like, man, that is so insightful for, I think she was 13 at the time, to
Wow.
be able to connect that dot that she loves that she can go with her studio, but she also realized that there is added pressure that impacts her ability to show up in a way that she wants to show up at the convention to get everything out of it that she wants. And when she's by herself, she was like, "This is amazing."
Yeah.
I wasn't pressuring her to go get coffee or anything like that. It was like, "We'll get you where you need to go, and then I'm gonna go have like a nice quiet room while you're
Yeah.
dancing your little heart out." So,
I love it, and, like, you brought up that point of, like, you're all learning how to navigate this still, even this
yes.
far into it, you know? What is
Yep.
it that each one of you need to set yourself up for success? And I think that that mindset also of, "I'm here for my child," it's
Yes.
important to remember you're also there as you, right? So
Yes.
what do you need to do to
Yep.
set yourself up for success? Is there anything else you would add to that for the mom who maybe has been making it all about their child and just running herself into the ground instead of thinking, oh, wait, what do I need in this moment?
Yeah, I think it's so important because we'll show up as stronger parents when we feel well rested and that we're taken care of, whether that's a nutrition thing, a sleep thing, or just being in quiet. So I've just figured out ways to know what feeds me, what do I personally need, and then trying to figure out ways to carve that out, even though it's not going to be ideal at a dance competition, because it's very hard to get quiet time. It's very hard, we're sharing a room together. So there's nuances with that sort of thing. But understanding if you need space, if you need quiet, it is okay to do that. Take the 15 minutes, take the half hour, do it because you're going to be so much more refreshed. We'll try to get outside and get fresh air and walk. And just when we're getting overwhelmed with the music is so loud and the lights are so intense, like it's okay to miss maybe a dance from the studio that your kid isn't dancing in, even though the studio, of course, wants as many parents there as possible. We understand that. But if you have to get outside and just take a quick walk, it is okay to do that, especially if you're a family that is 9 times out of 10 supporting and showing up. It's okay to break away a little bit. I think the nutrition thing was probably one of the biggest challenges for us because a lot of times, it's kind of garbage food at these competitions. And so figuring out it's okay to order groceries. It's okay to figure out like kind of some of those types of things in the room. So we just have our kind of standing grocery order that we get delivered to the room. And we know that that's going to help her. Because we struggled with that because every competition, the schedule is different. And so being able to time food and like order food to get the food when they needed it in between the dance, all this kind of stuff, it's really hard. and it's different every single time. And so we found having food on hand, she could just go back to the room, or we could go to the room and make a sandwich and bring it back for her. Where, you're trying to order food or wait for a delivery or that kind of stuff, it was just hard. So I think it's just things like that, trial and error. I think we're big on where are we feeling the most tension or the most pressure, and then what can we do to change that? And so, 1 year nutrition, like food was just the tension, it was like, oh my gosh, we're struggling here, So then it was like, okay, how do we tackle this? And we just started like, we're going to figure this out. And sleep, whatever it is, like you feel that rather than run away from it, we kind of lean into it and say, okay, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to make this smoother? On all of us, and I think that's just you'll figure out the rhythms that make sense for your family, um, so that you're not going crazy at these competitions, because they're intense, and we're not even the person dancing and it's intense. So I think that's a big one too, is also understanding. We give my daughter a lot of grace at competitions because we know her body's hurting. She's not getting her normal sleep. She's not in her bed. She's not in her room, all those things that are impacting her. We give her a lot of grace too, because we know she's pushing herself really hard, mentally, physically, all of it. So I think that's helpful. We kind of give all of us grace when we're on the road in those situations, try to anyway, as best we can.
Which is so important because there's already so much pressure coming
Yes.
at them from all sides and for you from all sides. Is she
Yes.
there? Is she in costume? Does she have this? Is her hair the right
Yeah.
way? Like you're under
Yes.
pressure, she's under pressure, everybody's under pressure. And so I just love how you're bringing up all of these things of like, where do you feel the tension? What can you do to mitigate the tension in your own way that works
Yep.
for you so that it can still be enjoyable
Yes.
and
Yeah.
not
Our
something.
goal was always, we want to make sure she's where she needs to be on time, in with all of the stuff that she's supposed to have, right? The right costume, the right makeup, all that. So that's one thing. What do we have to have in place to make sure we have all the costume pieces and all the makeup and all of that? So we've we have a dance bag that we pretty much don't touch throughout the year. It has the makeup, it has the hair, it has all the stuff in it, and we don't take that stuff out of there. It stays there. We do check it before we leave, but it's things like that it's like, this is the dance bag that is just not changing. Triple check costumes. It's like those little things that are the stressors, and then figuring out the routine that's going to work for your family. Because it will look different. It'll look different for everybody, and how your kid's wired. Some kids need less sleep than others. Some kids, Charlotte's kind of an introvert extrovert. So she's this incredible entertainer when she gets on stage, and she has all this crazy energy. But when she's done, when she comes off stage, she kind of doesn't really want to socialize and hang out a lot, and learning that about her and making sure, she doesn't really want to go out to dinner with the team. She wants to go have dinner and then chill out, be in a quiet space. Um, it took us a while to learn that, and to understand that she's tapped out by the time she's coming to the end of the day. And so we need to make sure that we help her rejuvenate so that by the second day, she's as good as she can be, even though she may not be sleeping in her own bed and those types of things. So,
So
and
important.
we're all wired differently. My husband's wired differently than I am than she is. So it's like you've got this hodgepodge of people that you're trying to work through.
Yeah, making sure everybody has what they need to show up at their best that weekend.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I love that. Jenny, what's your favorite thing about being a dance mom?
I love that it's her passion. It's so fun to watch her do what she loves to do. And it's that piece of it is amazing. I mean, I think any parent can relate to that. Like when your kid is doing what they love to do and they light up and they just are energized by it, it is special. And so that's super fun for us. We she's won a ton of titles and things like that, which are amazing. But at the end of the day, it's when she hits that stage and seeing that she loves what she does, that's the cool piece.
I love that. I love that so much. Jenny, thank you so much for sharing your story and all of your wisdom. I feel like you dropped so much wisdom for dance moms today. If there is a dance mom listening who maybe has some questions or would love to hear how you navigate something, what's the best way for her to get in touch with you?
Probably through, I would say social media is probably the
Mhm.
best thing. On Instagram, it's Jenny Does Grace, and Facebook is just Jenny Taylor. But the people can message me. That's an easy spot.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and they
Awesome.
can see all kinds of dance stuff. That's mostly what I post.
I love it. And cheer on Charlotte.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I love it. And now you guys are probably enjoying a little break for the summer, aren't you?
She has about 2 weeks of a break. She starts back up tonight, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
they already did. We went from kind of finishing out her year to tryouts for the next season to figuring out her teams, and now summer
All
summer
right.
classes are starting up. So oh my
Oh,
goodness,
yes,
kind of
the
a
dance
full
world.
year. It
I was
really
gonna
feels
say,
like it.
the dance world never ends.
It doesn't. It really is like, man, almost like in sports, you have seasons, it's like basketball I played in fall, softball I played in spring. Dance is like the whole year. We're dancing the whole year.
Yeah, totally. Well, I will let you go do what you need to do to get ready for that. Thank you so much again for being with us today. I know that a lot of dance moms are gonna get a lot of value from this, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And booty kickers, we'll catch you on the next episode. Keep kicking it.